Hello and welcome to the Gaj Show. Through the Gaj Show, I want to help listeners to get a better grasp of the crypto world by getting into conversation with some of the leading voices in the crypto space. And in this episode, getting into conversation with great Dmitry Buterin. Dmitry is a serial tech entrepreneur and founder of three multi-million dollar businesses. He's also co-founder of Blockgeeks, a resource platform to learn blockchain. Personal growth geek, a spiritual seeker, Dmitry is a proud father of Vitalik Buterin. Hello, Dmitry. Welcome to the Gaj Show. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yep. So the first question is, can you share a bit about tech businesses you have co-founded, and how was it different from today? How is it different from today?
Um, I had a number of businesses that I had co-founded in my life, probably like four or five, something like that. And every time it's really unique because, in some ways it's unique because you have a unique situation and time, right? You have different business partners, you have a different specific focus. Like, for example, some of my businesses, they were focused on services like technical consulting, and some of my businesses, they were product focused, right? Uh, but I guess end of the day, for any business that we launch, whether, it's 25 years ago or now, for me, there's some commonality, right? And for me, in any businesses that we launch, the key thing is to kind of start with answering some very simple questions. And that question is, what is the problem we're trying to solve, right? And for who are these people? And very often people start with very abstract thinking. Oh, we're going to improve blah, blah for blah, blah people, right? But that's usually, don't stop at a superficial answer, but go deeper. Like, okay, who are those specific people? If you think that they have a problem, how do you know that? Have you talked to them, right? And that's really key, right? To talk to potential customers. And questions like, okay, how do they currently solve that problem, right? And if the answer is like, oh, they don't solve this problem, most of the time it's probably a wrong answer, because it might be an indication that people don't really have the problem, right? And if they do have a specific problem, then they probably solve it somehow else, whether it be some kind of manual process or very something else inconvenient and so on, right? So you really have to start the business with understanding what is the problem you're solving and who are those specific people that you're solving the problem for, right? And start by talking to a lot of these people, and you don't have to actually build a solution, but you have to kind of before you talk to them, right? This is kind of where it all starts.
Amazing insights in that. Yeah. So I have a follow-up question on that. What more can the cryptocurrency community do to fill the gap in the crypto education? Oh, sorry. I think, yeah. Sorry. This was the next question.
No worries.
Yeah. So, how do you think blockchain is changing the world? Also, do share a bit about Blockgeeks.
Sure. The way I see blockchain changing the world, it's the next step in this very natural evolution, is that if you look back, I don't know, 200 years ago, there were many intermediaries between people producing stuff and consumers, right? And then you had your manufacturer, then you had wholesalers and retailers and whatnot, and so on. Then with internet, now there are fewer layers of intermediaries. And for me, blockchain is the next step in that consumers can directly interact with people who produce and create stuff directly, right? And there are big implications in this very simple concept. Their implications are that people around the world, like yourself, can now easily participate in the global economy, and nobody can stop you, right? And and there are countries where things are really messed up in terms of government, political situation. Let's take Myanmar or whatever, right? And they all try hard to kind of block the information so the citizens cannot access the information from outside or whatever. But it's not really possible with modern technology, encryption, blockchain, and math. So people are always able to access that information, and then they're actually able to participate in the world economy. So for me, so this is the biggest the most important aspect of blockchain is kind of bringing more and more people worldwide to be able to participate what is happening in this, right? Instead of all of these governments and monopolies and big corporations and, corrupt, governments and politicians standing in the way, and they want to be involved and they want to kind of control how you do. Well, they will keep losing that control, right? And for me, that's very exciting. And yeah, I mean, Blockgeeks, that's a business I co-founded some years ago, and the mission of that business is to help on board the next billion of people to learn about blockchain and start using, get engaged with that in many different ways, right? And there are many ways people now can do that. You can, at the very least, you can, however little money you have, but it's still possible to invest them in the cryptocurrency. That's a very basic way, right? You can actually learn if you're so inclined, if you have the mind for like math and computers and stuff like that, then you can actually learn how to be a developer of applications on that, right? But then you can do so many other things. You can participate in those DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, as a designer, as a support person, as supporting the community, so many ways, right? If you're working in a big company, then again you want to learn like what is this thing, how does it affect our existing business, how do I learn about this? So yeah, many different people, like pretty much everybody now is trying to learn about this big new development, right? And for me personally, because I kind of observed how internet was growing and how it was changing the lives of people worldwide. And I think for me, blockchain is now kind of going through a similar phase. It's still very early, but it's very obvious that it's already affecting and changing for the better lives of lots and lots of people.
Got it. Got it. Uh, yeah, I have a follow-up question on that. What more can the crypto community do to fill the gaps in crypto education?
It's hard to answer this in abstract, right? Because what is crypto community? What are the gaps, right? It's like I always, whenever people start thinking in abstract, my suggestion is always, okay, think specific. Think about yourself. Okay, here's me. Here's what I'm doing, right? And I think that there are some gaps. Okay, maybe it's a business opportunity, right? Maybe this is something that I can start and do. Maybe it's not a business, but maybe it's an opportunity. Let's say you see that that people around you, they potentially can learn more and benefit from this. Then okay, let's start like a little meetup, right? Or maybe start a podcast like you did. Start a YouTube channel. And nowadays there are so many ways. For me, the key thing is like think very practical and don't think about to change the world I need to boil the ocean and do whatever, right? Like do some little practical things, right? Because for me this is kind of how we build huge things, is by all this many people building a little step here, or putting a little contribution there, and then it all continues to build and accelerate.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah. As the crypto ecosystem grows at like a rapid speed, many many often overlook the aspect of physical and mental well-being. This is because of demanding of nature of the industry. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you're right, and it's especially true for like blockchain space, crypto space. There are lots of really smart people, right? And smart people are people who are really good at using their mind and using their brain, and to think about very complex abstract things and whatnot. And it's very interesting because there is this expression that whatever is our strong side eventually will become our weak side. Another way to look at this, if you've heard this saying, that if uh, you there? Yeah. If all that you have is a hammer, then everything will look to you like a nail, right? if all you that kind of you get used to just using your mind to think about everything, right, then everything will look like something that you can solve with your thinking, right? But the thing is, like, you're a physical being as well. You have a physical body, you have emotions and all of that stuff. And no amount of thinking will take you out of this, will necessarily help, or, will make you healthy and whatnot, right? So for me, it's really essential that for every human being who is learning, who is growing, who is keen to make an impact in the world, we always have to start with ourselves, right? We always have to think about, okay, am I taking even the basic care of myself, right? On the physical side, am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting a bit of exercise? Do I eat in the right way, right? And then also in terms of their mental health, right? Like, how am I doing there, right? What are my emotions, right? And there are so many ways you can support yourself in this way, right? It's like, build your community, and it can be community of friends close to you, or, many people now can also get engaged in some really awesome online community through whatever video and conference calls and whatnot. Things like meditation, things just like taking, some time at nature, right? So I think it's really important, and I've seen many really awesome people who are extremely smart, but they kind of burn out because they're not taking the time, and they constantly in this thinking, problem solving mode, which is exciting and awesome. But that's also the way to distract themselves from dealing with some other things that are going on with them mentally and emotionally. So I think it's really, really important for each human being, because, like, even if you start out with amazing ambitions, oh, I want to help people, I don't know, in my village, in my country, in the world, and do this and that. If you don't help yourself, you cannot do that for others. It's like, when you're flying on the plane, I don't know if you've done this, right? And they tell you that if there's an emergency and those masks come out from the ceiling with like oxygen and stuff like that, right? And they say that if you fly with a child, as an adult, you have to put on your first mask and then put it on your child, right? Because the thing is, like, if you try to put it on your child and you struggle with that, and then you don't get enough oxygen, then you out, then your child, nobody will help your child, and nobody will help you now too, right? So, but if you put it on first, your child will be okay for a little bit of time, but you're gonna have to start with taking care of yourself.
Alright, thanks. Thank you for sharing that. Like, like I even have like personal experiences to share. Like at beginning of my career itself, my crypto career, I had to face some wrong allegations, wrong accuses. Reading all those bad things on Twitter affected me like very badly. Though like somehow I coped up with that. It's yeah, it's pretty hard. So for young ones like me in the crypto space, what would you recommend? Should we like how should we take care of our mental well-being?
Um, the things we just discussed, the sooner, the earlier we start with them, and in our life path, it's again like start with like taking good care of your physical well-being, right? And when we're young, it's much harder because life looks like it's infinite, and we will always be around and whatever, and we tend up staying late and not eating healthy and stuff like that. And our body has a lot of extra capacity, so for quite a while, people end up overusing their bodies and not taking good care of them, right? But again, start with physical. How am I eating? How am I sleeping? Am I spending some time outside? Do I do some physical activity, right? And then look into all the different activities, right? And especially, say in India, India has amazing traditions for spiritual development and meditation and whatnot, right? So learn about this, because some of this, there are some superstitions and useless stuff, but there are some amazing insights and some amazing practices that any human being can greatly benefit from. And then also kind of become part of a community and find a community where it resonates with you, right? Find people who kind of where the community is supportive, right? Because some communities by their nature, they're very combative, and people kind of like can come across as angry and whatever, right? So it's really important that you're sense to that, like, okay, do I feel like I like this community? And if you don't, then feel free to leave this community and look for another community, right? Like in the world of cryptocurrencies, for example, right? And obviously I'm biased because of my connection, because of my son having invented Ethereum. But when I look at the Ethereum community, I think it's a very healthy community in a sense that it's very open, it's very inclusive. It welcomes people who join it. And yes, it does mean that everybody is perfect. People, we are humans, and people will, especially when they were scared, when we're concerned, when we have some fears, then we end up attacking somebody else, right? But then this is discussed in the open, and just like yesterday I saw this dialogue happening in real time. It was fascinating that this a person from an organization called SushiSwap, the second biggest decentralized exchange, right, was commenting that they felt that they were not given as much opportunity to move forward with their level 2 optimism, right? And there was a big discussion about this. And then optimism team came out and said, here's what we did, because we've been working with Uniswap for a long time, and it's a very slow. Anyways, I mean, the details are not important, right? But the community was able to openly discuss very difficult topic. And yes, some people ended up kind of, or started out like saying, no, you suck, right? But again, then kind of, we do a lot of this stuff when we triggered and when we are scared and whatnot. And then the community continued the dialogue. And, this morning I've seen much better takes and much better dialogue, and people opening up and openly discussing, kind of like, oh yeah, okay, and apologizing to each other, right? Like, if that's kind of one thing that we can learn is like, can we get better at admitting our own mistakes, right? Because we all make mistakes.
Got it. Yes, so how should one approach personal growth?
Personal growth, yeah, it's it's such a big topic, right? And I would say on a very high level, try many different things, right? Because there are many people out there, many gurus and many teachers, and they say, no, my way is right, no, my way is right, or, and there's no one perfect way. If something worked for somebody else, it doesn't mean that it will work for you. If somebody's practicing this particular, Vipassana meditation, you might end up practicing that for 10 years and not going anywhere, but then somebody is practicing, I don't know, something else, like, Dzogchen or whatever, right? They practice different kind of meditation. And then personal growth, there are different aspects of this, right? And some of this, they kind of like their growth, if you will, in two directions. One direction is actually using your mind and willpower, developing their willpower and discipline and, consistency, some good habits, like, am I going to sleep, in a certain time? Do I have this habit of, like, for example, in COVID, right? I live in Canada, right? And for the last year and a half, pretty much all the gyms were closed, and I used to exercise in the gym on a regular basis. How do I take care of my health, right? And at first, like, oh my god, I cannot do anything. Well, but then I just started doing a lot of walking, right? And walking is quite available to pretty much every human on the planet, to most humans, I guess, right? And you can always find a way. So developing those healthy habits and sticking to them, so that's one important aspect of personal growth. But that's not one. The other aspect of this is, if you will, develop in your heart, right? And through things like meditation and reflection, and it's really about compassion, and this is a kind of very different kind of personal growth. And usually people a lot of younger people, they start out with this kind of developing their mind and the willpower and discipline, and and all of this stuff is awesome, right? But this is, again, just one side of this. And I think it's really important that a human being kind of looks for other ways to develop and grow. Like, okay, do I maybe volunteer somebody? How can I help other people around me? Look into meditation and taking care of, I don't know, homeless animals, whatever is that resonates with us, right? To kind of like developing our capacity for love and kindness and compassion.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. So my last question is, how do you see the crypto space evolving in the future?
It's impossible to predict, obviously, right? It's such a huge space, right? Space, and the high level prediction, it will actually affect more and more people, right? So if for people who are, and we're still very early, there is so much opportunity for people to do so much, right? So that's kind of pretty obvious, right? But for young human beings, especially investing your time to learn and actually start doing something in this space is really important, because it opens up some new, totally different opportunities for you, right? And the second is a lot of the stuff that is happening right now is in DeFi, decentralized finance, right? And it's huge and quickly growing. Obviously, money is a very important aspect of human life. That's why so many humans are interested. But that's not the only one. And there is also a second boom in NFTs, mostly related to creative arts and stuff like that. Again, obviously, arts and creativity and joy are really important to human beings. But again, that's not all. And I think that in the context of we're speaking right now in August of 2021, a recent video is there was a conference, Ethereum Community Conference in Paris, right? And one of the talks there was by Vitalik, and Vitalik was talking about applications of crypto beyond DeFi. So I really enjoyed that particular talk, watching that online, and it's available. You can easily find that, or you can put it into the show notes. And he's talking about, okay, let's now look at building better social media that cannot be censored, that is not full of so much junk and personal attacks and whatnot. Then he's talking about can we use build a better infrastructure for logging in, right? So it's not like big companies like Google and Facebook and whatever who control our data, but can we build a better infrastructure for that, right? And then huge, fascinating area space is reputation systems, right? Distributed reputation systems, so that you can be the owner of your reputation, of your activities, and then you're able to carry it forward, right? So for me, those kind of like this is some more exciting. It's more exciting now to see because DeFi, it's not going anywhere. It's going to grow. NFT space for sure, right? But now let's look beyond that. And actually, there are, I think, many more opportunities and some other new areas of crypto. So, like, I really hope that people will be paying more attention and running experiments and trying to build stuff. And from all those little attempts, in a year or 2 years, 3 years, we will see some pretty huge things growing. I'm pretty sure of that.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing that, and thanks for joining the podcast. So,